Okie Let's have a look at some of the other features of Google Forms. And I think the last video we touched on just simple layout, how to input data in a really simple way. And I think we're looking at how we can work out averages by assigning values to different cells. So this lesson we're going to take it up a bit of a level. And stuff that at first seems really complex, and it is really tricky and a little bit difficult to get used to, but once you've done it a few times and you repeatedly use it all the time, then it's stuff that embeds really quick and hopefully will add a new level of engagement for you when it comes to doing tasks, especially with maths and things, when you're collecting data and analysing it. So I've got an example of a table here from past student, and it's just a simple we're looking at how much Australians spend on pets, specifically dogs and cats, and these numbers are in hundreds of thousands. So that's actually 258 million, 234 million. That's how much it costs just to purchase the animals, how much we spend on food, welfare, other goods and services, and then a total spent. Okay, so it's a really, really simple table. You can see here that I've highlighted this column, in one color to represent dogs, and this column here for cats. Simple little thing. And I've got total spent down here, which adds up everything in this column. So another formula I want to show you is what we call the sum. Okay, so let me just input a few numbers over here: 54, 45, 67. So if I wanted to have a set of data that adds up as I go along, which would be really helpful, I can assign this cell, let's just say total. This is how much I spend a week on food, fuel, and let's just put other. Let's put rent, actually. Just an example of topics that you might include. So if I wanted this cell to represent how much all these cells is, how much it adds up to altogether, click on the cell, equals sign, and we want to go to sum. So sum of a series of numbers and or cells. So I can put it in. Remember, a little bit like average before, I can click on the cell, drag across, click enter, and it will do the sum of those cells for me. So look, if I change the 566, the total changes, which is cool. We can do another way. We can go, let's do it for this one, sum. And remember, we could, if it was, say, something here and something here, I could put the sum of B, let's say it was B3, this cell here with 258, and this cell, which is C6, I could just type in, let's put B3 and C6, enter, and you can see it's added up B3 and C6. Well, it actually hasn't added up. B3, sum of, let's go B3 again, and C6, enter. There we go. That's close. I don't know what was happening there before. So there you go. So B3 and C6. Okay. Now if those totals ever change, 4, 5, 6, it influences that. Okay. So you've got two really useful formulas you should have a bit of an idea about now: your sum and your average. Okay. And again, that means you can create sheets that you can go back and use all the time. So if you're entering separate or completely different sets of data, you can still have all the formulas set up. So I know that these two cells here, no matter what I write next to it here, it's always going to add up everything in that column for me. So if it wasn't dogs and cats, I could go through, delete those things all the time, and if it was something, let's just say how much I spent, we're talking about food again, on bread, milk, meat, fruit, veggies, things like that, this table could still be just as useful. Or you could recreate the tables, but it just means now you know how to use the formulas to make the table a little bit more useful for you, rather than you having to enter all the data in, then get a calculator or get a pencil and paper and actually add it up yourself. You can get the sheet to do it for you. So that was the last kind of formula I really wanted to show you at this point. So let's go back to, let's go put those things in there. Let's have a look at how we can get this table, this summary table, and turn it into a graph basically. Okay, so I can highlight the table and I can insert chart, okay, which is just a click of a button. And you can see here it comes up with all these options, which is really, really cool. So you've got like bar graphs, column graphs, pie charts, things like that. All these really cool things that you can create with the data you've already got. So if you've correctly kind of labeled things here, so dogs, cats, and then the items down here with the totals, the insert chart function will pretty much take care of the rest for you. And it depends how you want to display the information. Okay, so let's go with this pie graph. It looks pretty, the pie chart looks pretty cool, I think. It's giving us other things like percentages of, totals, which is really kind of useful. You can just go click insert, and it basically floats it there like a picture for you. Okay, which is a really good way to represent your information. But you can actually edit this chart to make a little bit more, I guess, specific about the data you're representing. Okay. So you can go up here, you can change the title of it. So let's make it cats and dogs. Okay. We can click on that. You can change the fill color if you want to make that orange, although you've already got an orange there, so let's try something different. Purple. Edit the legend. Put your text over there, colored text, make the font bigger, all things like that. Let's right click on that, edit legend, okay, and that's how you get into that. But if we look at the right click on here, series, okay, it shows us exactly what we've got here. So purchase food, purchase cost food, stuff like that. Okay, so I could click on purchase cost if I wanted to just edit the color of that. So there's many different ways to do the same kind of thing, really. Okay, so that's pretty useful. Okay, now so if I just click on the whole chart and I go to advanced edit, this is where some cool options come up. So over here you can change the title of the chart, the series, purchase cost. You can go back into that, change the colors there, features, make it three-dimensional, maximize, make it bigger. What else can we do in here? Border, slice, value, label. Okay, so you've just got the names of things on there, which is pretty kind of useful sometimes. See, there's some other things there. Chart types. You don't probably want to play with that stuff too much. So I want to update that. Okay, so if we right click on the chart again, we get some different options there. Let's delete that chart. Let's go to insert chart again. Let's go with this this chart here, and this probably, depending on what chart you use, which graphing you use, there are different options you can change in there. So if I click down here, I can name the horizontal axis here. So if I want to say that, types of expenditure, that gives it a little bit more value there, I guess. Right click and advanced edit again. And you've got all, there we go, here's what I'm after. So naming the axes, so that was the horizontal, okay, down the bottom here. I want to actually name this part of the table here. So let's say dollars. So update that. There we go. So that's what I was trying to show you before with the pie chart, is how we can name the X and Y axes, the vertical and the horizontal axes. And that gives us really spot on information there. So when people are reading the information, they know that we're not talking about spending $200 on purchasing, we've got the key over here, dogs. We're actually spending just over 400, so close to 500, hundreds of thousands, which is 500 million. Okay, so there's little things you can do like that. Let's change the name of that chart to Australian spending on dogs and cats. There we go. So it's a little bit more of a spot-on title. So types of expenditure, that's what I put in earlier. So when I was doing that right-click before, if you want to change things like that, it's always in Advanced Edit. Okay. So your axes, horizontal or vertical, left vertical. You can see there, right vertical is certainly an option for some of the charts, but obviously not for this chart. So yeah, so you've got heaps of really cool stuff you can do in there to tweak your information. Let's have a go, maybe let's insert another type of chart. Sorry, I forgot to select my data. Let's have a look at this one here. Let's insert that. Let's just shrink it down a little bit. Okie doke. So let's right click on it. Advanced Edit. Oh, here you go. You can see you've got the option there for the axes there. So you've got left vertical axis labels. So you can move and resize things there. So that's pretty kind of cool. Fit to area, move and resize. Yeah, so I don't really want to change a lot of that. Let's go right click again. Axes, horizontal axis title, so you can change the name down there. Let's just call it money. You can just I think you can just click on that. There you go. Item, so types of spending. Didn't say. Let's just put types. There we go. So you can change things there too. So it depends on the chart, obviously, what information you can and can't put in there. So yeah, I hope that's kind of explained a little bit how to transfer summary table data and put it into a chart or a graph for you. Again, each let's highlight that and just have a look. Each chart, has its own variations about what you can and can't tweak on there, and that's because I guess certain things like with a pie chart, there's no need to name a horizontal or vertical axis because it doesn't apply to a chart like this. So make sure when you're choosing, when you're going to insert a chart, that you feel that it represents the data in the best way possible. And because it doesn't take a lot of work, you just select the information in your summary table and then click Insert Chart. You can play around with it as much as you want. There's not a lot of effort that needs to go into creating those charts. So make sure, as I said before, that the chart that you do create represents the data on the best. And the one last thing I want to show you with Google Sheets is something I find really, really useful for some of the jobs I have here at school, is a thing called conditional formatting. Okay, and all it is about basically, as it sounds, you're formatting or making the cell do a certain thing based on what you want it to do, so the conditions that you want to apply to it. So for example, if you have a bit of a budget, let's just say you've got maybe $1,000 to spend on a party. So let's put food, drinks, cake, and decorations. Okay, and your total spent, let's put that over there, and let's highlight that. Okay, and so you're allowed to spend $1,000, so you cannot go over that amount. You can format that cell. Well, first let's format it so it adds up everything that's in here. So let's just say at the moment I spent 120 there, 150 here, $80 on the cake, and 200 on decorations. I want this to tell me how much I've spent in total, so I'll make that a sum of those. Enter. Cool. Alright, so I've got my sum formula in there to add up and make sure that it's showing me exactly how much I have spent. And remember, my budget is $1,000, so I might just put that information. Cool. Alright, so I want this cell, I might want it to go a certain color in relation to the data that I'm inputting. So I can conditionally format that cell. So select the cell, click format, and this option here, conditional formatting. Okay, so when you click on that, the cell that I selected was J4, so I'm making sure that's right. And I want to format the cells if, and then you have all these options. I want to format it to do, and you can create different conditions for one cell, but this is the first one to do. I want it to format if it's greater than 1000, I want it to go red. And that will tell me, let's go done. That will tell me if I go over my amount that I'm in the red. Okay, so that means I've spent too much. I want to add a new rule. I want to format the cell if it's less than 999, and I want it to go light blue. Done. There we go. So blue lets me know that I'm under budget. Red will let me know if I'm over budget. So let's just say decorations actually cost me $500. I've spent $850 so far. I'm still in the blue. I'm okay. But let's just say food, I've had $400. I put that amount in. I've gone over the amount that I'm allowed to spend, so it's saying no. That's a nice way of kind of visually representing that you're in the red. Basically, you've spent too much money. So I've got to work out how I can get this 130 off. And you can do that to a whole series of cells. You can conditionally format the cells in lots of different ways. So let's go back over to format, conditional formatting. Let's add a new rule. You can format the cell if it's not empty, if the text contains something, so if you're typing names into a cell, if the text contains, let's just say we've got David, and if David's name lights up for any reason, you want any cell with his name in it to go yellow for some reason. Let's have another look at some other options. If the text starts with something, if the text ends with something, text is exactly. You can put dates before and after, so that might be something useful if you've got a spreadsheet working out, like a bit of a schedule if you're planning a holiday and you're putting dates in for when you arrive. You might need it to light up blue to say, yep, that's all right because it coincides with something I want to do when I arrived at a certain place, or if you've got other flights lined up. That's probably getting a bit too technical. I really think it's this stuff mostly you're going to be using. For numbers. If a cell is greater than a certain number, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to, is not equal to, is between, is not between. Okay, so if it's between, let's just say, if it's between, I might want to make it between 900 and 999, I might want it to go orange to let me know that I'm getting close to spending all of my money. So let's go out of that. I'll make that 300. Okay, so I must have a rule overriding it. So let's go back to format, conditional formatting, and let's junk this rule. There we go. So you could see I had two kind of rules contradicting each other there. So I would have to be very specific how I set that data up. So I would have probably had it in the blue up until, say, $899 when I still got relatively a large amount of money to still spend. So the orange is saying, yes, you still got money to spend, but you're running out. And then you can have almost a little bit of a key down here. You could highlight a cell, make it orange, and then say, if it's orange, almost over budget. So a key is a really kind of cool thing to have in there. Let's spell that right. If it's red, over budget. Blue, under budget. Cool. So there you go, you'd have your kind of key up there, which is really kind of helpful. So have a bit of a play around with conditional formatting. I think you'll find it really useful for activities like what we've got here, and especially if you're doing a long task where you're adding things up and collecting certain types of data, and if you've got certain goals that certain number in mind that you want to achieve, or you do not want to go over, or you do not want to go under, this formatting the cells to do certain things is a really cool idea.